Today we're talking all about escapism. Is it good? Is it bad? How much is too much? And when does it cross the line into avoidance? Stick around. Welcome back. For those of you new here, my name's Nina and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. Here at this channel, we talk all about our emotional well-being, understanding our own psychology, and living our best life possible. So if you aren't already a subscriber, please go ahead and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. With everything happening in the world, more and more people are feeling discontent or bored or stressed out or anxious. And because of this, we are seeking out different types of coping mechanisms to help us really deal with all these negative emotions. And there are a lot of different strategies that our brain can come up with to do this, but one of the most common ways is through something called escapism, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and start by defining what that actually means. Escapism is the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. So basically, it is just a mental diversion from anything in our life that is unpleasant or unhappy or that brings up negative emotions or is unstimulating. So we can actually use escapism in many different ways, but most commonly we see it as activities that involve entertainment or our imagination. So some examples might be watching hours and hours of television or endlessly scrolling on social media. It could be becoming obsessed with certain programs or books or movies or sports teams. It could be drinking alcohol excessively or taking drugs. Anything really that allows us to temporarily forget our current reality. So one of the questions that I get all the time about escapism is it bad? And before we can really come up with a firm answer to that question, we have to consider a lot of factors. And it all starts by really asking the questions, what am I escaping from and what am I escaping to? So I want to go ahead right away and put your mind at ease by saying that almost every person, or maybe even all people, engage in escapism at least sometimes. And no, it is not always bad. It certainly can be, but that is not necessarily the case. Sometimes we truly do need to take a break. Sometimes we do need to forget our problems for a few moments. Sometimes we just have too many things that we are dealing with, that our life has become too stressful, and we really do need to step back and take a break from it all. We need a mental break, because while it is important to, of course, face and address our problems, most people do not have the wherewithal to be able to deal with their problems 24 hours a day. People do need a break, and sometimes we just legitimately do need a Netflix night. So that is all fine. I also want to mention that sometimes the distraction or the form of escapism isn't even negative in nature to begin with. So it could show up as gardening or exercising or doing something that is actually productive. It could show up as a form of self-care. So in any of these situations, there's really nothing problematic at all about engaging in escapism, except if for some reason it became incredibly excessive. So if not all escapism is really created equal, when is it actually problematic? It's likely crossing the line when the distraction is a bigger priority than the real aspects of our life. When the distraction allows us to avoid important issues that need to be addressed. When it interferes with our relationships or our occupation. When it affects our motivation, our priorities, or keeps us from pursuing goals. When we can't control our urge to engage in it. When it consumes an excessive amount of our thoughts or our time. And when we prefer our fantasy life to our real life. So simply put, escapism can be an effective coping skill when we use it responsibly and when we use it in a positive manner. But when it starts to cause harm in our life or really allows us to completely ignore important aspects of our life, it becomes something that we truly need to address. So we have to be honest with ourselves. Is this something that we are simply just really enthusiastic about and enjoy? Or are we using it habitually to hide from our problems? And sometimes the answer is not really visible on the surface. Sometimes we have to dig a lot deeper. So I'm going to give an example where we may need to look a little further. And so we may come to one conclusion, but if we look a little deeper, we could come to a different conclusion. And that is with my friend who is just so enthusiastic about Star Wars. She has seen all the movies probably dozens of times. She has the merchandise. She drinks out of a Star Wars coffee mug. She has the pajamas. She has got it all. So she raises eyebrows a lot of times because people make a lot of judgments thinking, how can an adult be so, enthusiastic about some movie? And so we can look at these judgments, but then we can also look at her actual life. Now, if we look at her life, we can see that her enthusiasm for Star Wars is not really causing any negative consequences at all in her personal life. She still has hopes. She still has dreams. She still is very effective in her workplace. She still takes care of her family, not only her husband, her children, but she also takes care of her ailing mother. She is still very active in her faith community. She exercises every day. So we're not really seeing any negative consequences. We're just simply seeing a person that is a fan of something. Yes, she is a super fan, but when it really does not have a negative consequence, if it is not being used as a method to avoid problems, which it certainly isn't in her case, it's a form of escapism that's really just personal enjoyment. So these are the types of things that we want to look for. So something can look very obvious in one direction and really not be the case. But certainly it can go in the other way as well, where we are using our chosen method of escapism to truly block out our problems, to try to avoid them completely, to live in a fantasy world, to think about only our hobby or our sports team or our chosen activity, whatever it is. But if we are using it in a way that it is destructive or truly allowing us to ignore important aspects of our reality, again, it's something that we definitely need to take a look at. We need to start thinking of escapism almost like a treat that we allow ourselves to have in moderation. It is all about balance. When it starts to control us or it starts to take over our life, we really need to take a step back and see what it is that we are trying not to face. So definitely let me know in the comments below what your chosen form of escapism usually is and whether or not you feel that you are using it responsibly. And as always, I truly hope you found today's video helpful. If you did, please like it, share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today. Also, do become a subscriber if you aren't one already. We definitely want you to stay connected. And I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.